joining us again. We had a little technical difficulties on Wednesday. He was here and on time then, but we figured those out, and the champ is back again. So quick primer. I know we went through this Wednesday with Mark Chinook. It all goes down Saturday, November 20th. That is next Saturday, November 20th, at the Michelob Ultra Arena at Mandalay Bay here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It is going to be live and exclusively on ESPN Plus pay-per-view here in the United States. And for our fans across the pond in the UK, Sky Sports will be picking up the action live over there. Pay-per-view begins at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Also features a 12-round IBF middleweight title eliminator between Esquivia Falcao and Patrice Volney, a 10-round middleweight fight between Yanibek Alim Hanala and Hassan Endam, and an 8-round lightweight fight between the unbeaten Raymond Murataya against Elias Rujo. We also have 2 fights on ESPN2 beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Isaac Dogbe against Christopher Pitufo Diaz in a great battle, and a featherweight rematch between Adam Lopez and Adan Ochoa. And then prior to that on the ESPN app at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, return of Carlos Balderas and the professional debut of recent United States Olympian Tiger Johnson. So we have a stacked 8-fight card on multiple platforms before going through all night. Headlined by Crawford v. Porter. So now that we have all that out of the way, I want to turn things over to the chairman of Top Rank, Bob Arum. And I want to start with Bob here. That Terence has been a welterweight champion for 3 years. He's asked for the big fights since defeating Jeff Horn to win the title. How satisfying is it for you and for the company and in working with Terence that he finally got the welterweight super fight he's been asking for?
Well, Terence is probably the best fighter in boxing, and we have had problems getting him the best matches. We finally succeeded thanks to PBC and ESPN, and we're looking forward to doing very, very big numbers here on the pay-per-view. You heard Porter a couple of days ago. He seems very confident. I think Terence will also show his confidence today. And we're looking forward to a great event. And we want to thank ESPN for rolling out the entire network to promote this fight.
And Terence, I know you've probably answered this question before, but the same question for you. Ever since you entered the welterweight division with a smash in defeating Jeff Horn, you've wanted the Porters, the Thurmans, the Spences. The list goes on and on. So how excited are you to finally get that big name in the welterweight division?
Well, I'm very excited. I've been calling for these fights, these type of fights, before I was even in the 147 division. Right after, I won my undisputed title at junior welterweight, I was calling for the number 1 guys in the welterweight division, the Keith Thurmans, the Danny Garcias, and everybody else's, but Porter is a top welterweight in his own right, and he's been in the ring with all the top welterweights. So I'm looking forward to it.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us on the call today. We have another huge turnout from the media, so thank you all for joining us. As always, 2 options if you want to ask a question. Again, we won't be able to get to everybody, but we'll do our best to get to as many as possible. Either use the raise hand button, which I see some of you have figured out, or if you can't figure that out, you can just go to me straight in the chat, send me a message, and I will do my best to get to you. So we are going to kick things off with Keith Eidick from Boxing Scene. Keith, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hey, Terence. When we had Sean on the call on Wednesday, he said that he thought that Jose Benavidez gave you the most difficult fight. Maybe not that the scores were close or anything, but just from a subtle standpoint, maybe some nuances that, maybe people wouldn't pick up on. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, who do you think has given you the most difficult fight of your career, either in the welterweight division or any other division?
Well, like I said, Jose Benavidez is a talented fighter. He was perceived to be the next superstar in boxing. I take my hats off to Benavidez. He did what he did. fight night. He's a very good counter puncher. He's tall, he's long, he's rangy. Let's not say, when they sparred, what happened when he sparred Jose Benavidez. So he personally know how good Jose Benavidez is because he shared the ring with him as well. So
Was that recently that you're referring to?
no, not recently. I don't know if they've sparred recently. I'm just saying in the past they sparred. So, he knows.
Okay. Terence, just one other question for you. Obviously, Kyron Davis was one of your main sparring partners for this fight, and he has a huge fight on short notice tomorrow night against David Benavidez. I'm just wondering what your perspective is on his chances in that fight.
Well, I just wish him the best. Hope he go out there and do what he intends to do, and may the best man win.
Keith, we're having a little trouble with your audio, so we'll get back to you when that gets situated. Next, we are going to go over to Dan Rayfield. Dan, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thank you very much, Evan. Appreciate it. Hello, Terence. Terence, can you hear me?
Terence's screen is black right now. Hold on one second, Dan.
Okay.
No, I can hear him.
Perfect.
Okay.
Go
Can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got you, Terence. Listen, Terence, I'm happy that you finally got this big fight in the welterweight division that you have wanted, but it's certainly no secret that your original target was to get a unification with Errol Spence Jr. You have this fight now, of course, but can you speak to if there's any disappointment in not getting Errol Spence, at least not yet, and is it something that you would still strive for in the future?
Well, listen, man, I've been calling for that fight for a long time now. That fight is behind me, and the only fight that I'm focused and worried about is Sean Porter. All them other fights can come in the near future if the opportunity presents itself.
Okay. When you look at Porter, it seems to me anyway, like maybe he doesn't do anything great, but he really pretty much does everything very well. When you break down the videos of him or you watch him or you talk to Bomac about him, what are the things that you talk about as far as believing that are the best attributes that Sean Porter brings to this fight that you have to neutralize?
Well, nothing really. We already know what Sean Porter brings to the table, so we never have them type of conversations. We just prepare for what I need to sharpen up. So when Sean Porter does what he does, we ready and, we willing to, walk through fire to get that victory.
Thank you very much, Dan. As a reminder to everybody in the call, there's no live streaming of this chat, but upon the conclusion of this call, you can go to the Top Rank YouTube page. It'll be available there, and you can use clips, etc., for your channel. So please follow those guidelines, and we do appreciate that. And next, we're going to go to ESPN.com's Ben Baby. I'm offering Bengals coverage today. Thank you, Ben, for joining us. I appreciate that. Hopefully, for our sake, Terence will do much better than the Cincinnati Bengals have of late. Ben, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't think Terence is wanting that bad juju on him. But real quick here, when you look at what Sean's done throughout his career, kind of how he's kind of went about his matchmaking, what kind of jumps out at you the most when you look at kind of the opponents he's chosen to face over the years?
Well, he faces everybody. Sean Porter is a no pick'em type of fighter. He'll fight anybody, and it's been proven that he'll fight anybody. That's pretty much, how you sums up who he's been fighting, because he's been fighting all the top welterweights in the division.
How much of an asset is that to you as you're kind of figuring out where you're going in your next step in your career? The fact that you're facing a guy who has, that lengthy of a resume and has been in with a lot of top guys. And how much of that was the thought process when you decided to make this fight?
Well, it never really was a thought process because, like I said, I've been calling for all these top welterweights since I came in the division. There was nothing really I could do. So I just had to buy my time, be patient. And now we here, and Sean Porter is the one standing in front of me. And this is the fight that we're going to have next week, November 20th.
Awesome. Thanks, Terence.
Thank you, Ben.
Sure.
And next we go to Adrian Romero. Adrian Romero, please click the unmute button and go ahead.
Hi, Terence. How you doing?
What's up?
So you have been undefeated thus far in your career. So simple question, what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I just want to be remembered as one of the great, fighters that's put on the gloves. I want to be remembered for my skills, my ability to adapt to any opponent in the fashion that, that I've been winning. Hello?
Yep, we just lost you for a second, Terrence. You're talking about legacy and winning in the fashion you've been winning, and that's when you cut off.
Oh yeah, I was just saying, I want to be remembered as one of the greats and remembered as, one of the greats to adjust, when people look at, the things that I do in the ring, they can say, oh, well, I could pick that up, I could pick this up, and this is the reason why he's one of the greats,
Thank you very much. And now we go to Cole Whiston. Cole, please unmute yourself.
Guys, thank you from Boxing World Weekly. Terence, Porter said his legacy is on the line in this fight. Now, obviously, yours is pretty cemented and already done with, but your welterweight legacy is the one that gets criticized. Do you think if you lose this fight, that the same goes for you?
No, not at all. Not at all. Sean Porter is a tremendous talent, but ain't no ifs. I'm not going to lose this fight. I'm going in this fight, and I'm going to win this fight. And if it's already crazy.
Terrence,
My
sorry,
legacy is
we lost you there for a second. Bob, they were touching upon legacy. Terrence was touching upon legacy. I mean, what for Terrence's sake, when he wins this fight or if he wins this fight, how does that enhance his legacy, and what do you how do you sort of put him in there with all the great welterweights that you've promoted up in the 80s with the Four Kings, through the 90s and early 2000s with guys like Oscar?
Well, the welterweight division has always been a division populated with great fighters. There was Leonard, Hearns, Duran, Donald Curry was a great welterweight in his time. There's just been so many. Oscar, Trinidad. Terence would have been competitive with all of them. Really would. He's a tremendous boxer puncher. He has the skills set that they all had. And it is what it is, because you cannot pick the era that you're fighting in. You're born at a certain time. You start fighting professionally at a certain time. But for this era, clearly, Terence Crawford, in my mind, is heads and shoulders above any other fighters in his division, below, or maybe also above.
All right, thank you, Bob. Terrence, are you back with us? Just want to make sure the reception is okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, we can. All right, let's see who else we have. We got a bunch more in the queue. TC Martin from out here in Las Vegas. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hey, Terrence. A while back, Sean had said that you guys had this deep friendship and there was kind of this agreement that you guys really didn't want to fight each other. And he said that, he reached out to you on several occasions, and a lot of those, calls or texts went not returned by yourself. Is there any animosity on your side towards Sean, or can you speak a little bit about that?
No, there's definitely no animosity on my side. Like when Sean called, we times about the thought of fighting each other, and it was agreed upon, both of us, that it would be on our terms. And I feel like he got caught up in the media after the Spence fight with everybody saying, "Oh, you should fight Terence, you should fight Terence," and I told him, you know, I felt like they was using him as a stepping stool to, you know, see how me and Sean, you know, fight go, and, you know, compare me and Arrow performances against him. And at that time, I was already in talk with Manny Pacquiao to fight Manny Pacquiao. So I told him that, you know, I got something on the table, and if that fight doesn't happen, then of course, me and you can fight if that's what you really want to do, you know. And the Manny Pacquiao fight didn't happen, so we here now.
And I bring back Bob for a second. Bob, you know, Terrence touched, you know, there's been talks about the deal and everything. Can you talk a little bit about how easily or not easily this deal with Tom with TGB Promotions, PBC, and Team Porter, and how that came to fruition after, as Terrence said, the Pacquiao fight fell through?
Oh, really, it goes back to the Fury Wilder promotions. This the second fight, the third fight, where we both companies saw that we could really work well together. So they greenlighted Porter, and it was easy to put the fight together. Now, again, one of the real reasons why the fight could be made was ESPN. And ESPN Plus has a platform now that has 19 million subscribers. And when ESPN Plus has the exclusive pay-per-view rights, and they can publicize it and email constantly their subscribers, they're doing huge numbers. How do I know that? Because while they haven't had any exclusives yet in boxing, they have had exclusive for a couple of years now, at least, with UFC. And the UFC numbers on pay-per-view are huge because of ESPN Plus, which has it exclusively. Now, there are two ways to put on the fight if you're going pay-per-view. One, ESPN Plus is just one of the platforms, so its incentive to really promote is not that great. The other platforms don't do particularly well anymore on pay-per-view. So we thought, I'm sure it's going to work, that going on ESPN Plus exclusively, we will do in this fight UFC kind of pay-per-view numbers, which can be as low as 500,000 and as high as 1.5 million. That's our goal, and I really believe these fighters, both Terence and Porter, are in for a big, big surprise when they see the pay-per-view results. And PBC, I think, is looking closely to see whether this now is a map to enable pay-per-view events to take place.
Well, yes, Bob, yes, we can only hope pay-per-view does that well. Matt Kenny from ESPN's on the call, so yeah, from your lips to Matt Kenny's ears, Bob, we all hope that. Next, we go to Alan Alford. Alan, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thank you so much, Evan. All right, I appreciate that. I'm glad Bob was actually on the call. In the Atlanta fight, I had asked Bob a question. I'm going to ask Terence the same question. Bob eloquently basically said how Terence is the #1 welterweight. My question to you, Terence, is do you concur with that? And if so, please explain why you believe you're the #1 welterweight in this division.
I'm the #1 welterweight division, and that, you know, I came 135 to conquer 140, and then to come to 147 in my first fight at the division, no warm-ups, no tune-ups, and defeat Jeff Horn, the man he beat the man, which was Pacquiao. Pacquiao was the man in the division, Jeff Horn beat the man, and I beat Jeff Horn in tremendous fashion. So that's why I consider myself the man in the division.
Even without fighting Errol or Ugas.
It's kind of like Tyson Fury having the ring belt, but didn't have the other belts. He beat the man that was the man, which was Klitschko. Klitschko. You know, so once he beat him, all the other titles really didn't matter because he was the king of the heavyweight division prior to him, you know, going in retirement. So when he came back, he still was the king. So if I beat the king, that means, you know, I wear the crown.
All right, we got a couple more minutes with Terence, so I'm going to get to a couple final questions, and then we're going to let the champ go. He's got a hard out before 11 o'clock Pacific time. So, Michael Rueda, Michael, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thank you. And Terence, I'll get to it real quick. Obviously, you want the win. Is it more important to you possibly to get it by knockout or by like a dominant 12-round, you know, beatdown? Is that more important, or is it the knockout that you want?
It's all about the win. You know, I never go in any fight looking to get a knockout or whatnot. I just always go looking for the victory because that's all that matters at the end of the day. On the record, it's going to all say the same thing. Win or loss is not going to matter at the end of the day.
Okay, we got a couple more questions here, so let's see who else we've got. Let's go over from overseas, Mr. Jim Conlon. Please unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Hi, Terence. Terence, in the last fight with Sean Porter fought Aaron Spence, Sean had an inside knowledge of his trainer having trained Errol Spence. Do you feel maybe that that helped him in his terms of his performance? He doesn't have that inside knowledge this time around?
No, I just think Sean is a tremendous fighter. You know, he's very talented and he knows what it takes to, you know, be in the ring with these top fighters because he's been a top fighter, you know, all his life. You know, so his experience being in the ring with these top fighters and the amateurs and prior to, you know, fighting Spence has helped him along the way.
All right, thank you, Mr. Conlon. Got one more here from Louisiana, Mark Senegal. Mark, please press your unmute button and go ahead.
Yes, Terrence, for most of your career, you've been loyal to your team. You've done a great job at doing that. Most diehard experts and fans felt that you are the pound-for-pound champ. And now you're starting to win over the casual fans. And you're going to be the hottest ticket in Vegas next week among women. How do you feel about that, Terrence?
Well, you know, like I always say, you know, everything happens for a reason. And, you know, the light shines on every man, you know, once in a blue moon. You know, so it's just my time right now. And I truly feel like it's my time to shine, and I will shine November 20th.
And and for Bob, one last question for you, Bob, and then we'll get Terence out of here and his final thoughts. I mean, you know, we mentioned it's about 100 tickets left for a clean sellout. So by fight week, the Mandalay Bay will be sold out. I mean, how gratifying is it to see that, you know, that Terence has reached that place where Las Vegas headliner sold out? I think the first sold out Las Vegas fight of his career. So what does that mean to you as someone who's promoted him for the last 7-8 years?
Well, you know, people who follow boxing, whether avidly or just a bit, realize that this fight is a terrific fight. They've watched Terence, they've watched Porter, and the response has been absolutely enormous for this fight. I mean, it is, in fact, a sellout. People are fighting now at the secondary market for tickets to the fight. I was happy that we got a place like Mandalay Bay, which has 11,500 seats, because every seat is a good seat. And when they were designing the building, they called me in as a consultant on the arena that they were building. And I suggested one where everybody would have a good seat. So this will be filled people will see a great event. Terrific. I don't have to sell the welterweight championship fight. It's terrific. But watch the middleweights. Middleweights becoming a hot division. The Falcoa fight that's on the pay-per-view, which will get new blood. Falcoa with the Canadian Volney, who will become a mandatory for one of the middleweight champions. And watch this kid, Janibek, from Kazakhstan. I mean, he is the next Gennady Golovkin. He may have more skills than Golovkin had. He is sensational, and he's in a tough fight. So it's a great night of boxing. I know that ESPN, with its tremendous megaphone, is attracting record numbers for boxing, pay-per-view, eyes, Sky. The fact that in 3 and 4 in the morning is doing this fight live for the fans in the UK show how important the fight is and how avidly boxing fans want to see this event. So I'm really enthused.
Thank you, Bob. And I think it's only fitting we close this call with one last comment from the champ. 8 days away, Terence, back in Omaha. Just one final thought for the fans out there watching on YouTube, and that will see you in Vegas next week.
Hey, all the supporters, Terence, Crawford, and Sean Porter, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. And I'm looking forward to putting on a tremendous, action-packed, show come November 20th. And if you ain't got your tickets, get them now because they're going to be gone. And if you ain't making it, just tune in, to ESPN pay-per-view, and we're going to put on a show for you guys.
Thank you, Terence. And we're going to wrap it up. But thank you, Terence, for joining us. Thank you, Bob, for joining us. Not that I need to remind you guys, Saturday, November 20th, ESPN Plus pay-per-view exclusive. Big 4-fight card starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. The remaining tickets, AXS.com. So get them now because they will be gone soon. We have Fight Week events all streaming on the Top Rank YouTube channel. ESPN will have coverage of all major Fight Week events as well. So check your local listings, and we will put out a programming release soon. And there will be Fight Week content all week on the Top Rank YouTube channel, taking everybody behind the scenes of all the fighters and fight camps for Fight Week. So again, thank you for joining us today. If everybody looks in the chat, there's the direct landing page for the Crawford Porter pay-per-view exclusively on ESPN Plus. So check that out. And again, thanks everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you all in Las Vegas next week. Thank you.